This show is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more, go to planetsidepodcasts.com.
Welcome to I Shouldn't Have to Say This, the podcast where we discuss topics we believe requires critical and nuanced thinking. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at saythiscast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at saythiscast, and go to saythiscast.com if you want to hear previous episodes. Hey there, party podcast people. I'm your host, Nicole, and I'm joined here today by my co-host, Janra.
Hey.
And if I sound tired, it's because I'm hungover, and we have to talk about some pretty unpleasant shit today. Some pretty doomer shit. Today we're going to talk about the genocide that has been slowly occurring in Palestine for the better part of a century now. And we're going to try and do our best to be honest about the situation in this house. We support Palestine. The Israeli government is bullshit. And various things that we can talk about more in the episode. We're off the cuff today as well. Genre, speaking of which, this was your idea for a topic, so I have like a little something that I want to discuss about the way that the discourse is unfolding. But before I get into my little quibble, because I think it's like a larger point, do you have anything that you would like to say on the topic?
Really the biggest thing is that this, like you said, this has been going on for the better part of a century. There are a lot of different facets here. It's the Middle East, and there are so many angles that you could go into. But the main thing that I keep coming back to is that whatever you think about how, like, the different factions just in Palestine, because there are a few, and the Palestine, the West Bank, and no matter what you think about that, the Israeli government is not an angel. They have been pushing and just constantly hurting the people that they are supposed to take care of. The Palestinians are ostensibly in Israel. If you want to just call Israel, that area, a sovereign nation, they are their people, and they have been just either wiping them out, controlling them, numbering them, and it's getting to the point where I'm thinking, like, maybe you guys should have some sense of your history, because you're getting there.
I don't think they're simply getting there.
No, I mean,
have you ever heard the way that so there were
hold on.
Sorry.
I'm just, what I'm saying is that they are doing ethnic cleansing, and they should know what that looks like.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is they're all the way there.
Yeah, they're doing that, and they have to. And when you think about what they are doing, the Israeli government, just in the past 20 years, has been pushing into territory that they are not allowed to push into, making settlements in on Arab land, and really at this point is like, what do you expect the Palestinians to do, honestly? And it's just, I just want to say, like, anything else, no matter what the angles are, and there's, like I said, there's so many, the Israeli government is bringing this on themselves, because when you push a people to the brink and they have no water, they are being controlled, they are being pushed into the dark corners of the country. You should know that they're going to push back. You are supposed to take care of the people in your borders. That's the point of a country, and they're not doing it, and they're actively hurting them. So this does not surprise me.
All right.
I just want to say that.
Okay. There's a lot in there. Surprisingly, I think we might disagree in some places.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where? What? That's interesting.
Yeah. Palestine is not it's not in Israel. Like, Palestine has there was a UN resolution in the 20th century which gave them land. Not enough, because the Israelis got the majority of the land that used to be designated to Palestine, which was not a recognized state at the time, I believe.
Right.
But the point is that the borders that were designated as Palestine have been systematically ignored by the Israeli government, which is far right. Just so everybody knows, they are they are ethno-nationalists, like out and about. And so it is. I take slight issue just with, I know what you're trying to say, but with the idea that Palestine is in Israel. Palestine is its own place in the center of Israel.
Let me say, I know that.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to talk about is from the Israeli point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no doubt in my mind that the Israeli government does not respect that resolution, that the fact that that is supposed to be Palestinian land, because clearly, like, they don't, because they keep putting settlements where they shouldn't be. And they, like, I keep hearing from people that are defending Israel, like, oh, they need to defend themselves and blah 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 blah, and like, this is the country and everything. Is like, if you really think that this is your country, this entire land is your country, then these people are within the borders that you think you have. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not it's not their land. It's not their country, but they think it is. They think it is.
I didn't know what perspective you were taking.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to speak to from the perspective of Israelis, or the Israeli government, as much as I know about. And if you don't respect the borders of these people's land, and its people's supposed to be a country, and you think this entire area is Israel, that means you have a duty to protect the people in the land that you think you own.
Yeah.
And that right there, is something that really pisses me off.
Yeah, well, then it is convenient to the Israeli narrative that so many of their top officials have been on the record, out and about, knowing that this is going to be published, as saying that the Palestinians are not people, they are beasts, that they don't deserve to live, that their existence is an affront to everything, and that
they called him a cancer,
and that a single Israeli soldier's life is more important than the entirety of the residents of Gaza.
Yep.
So, from their perspective, Palestinians are not people. The other thing that stuck out to me is that for my piece of the episode today is in terms of this conflict and any other conflict, because I think that this is what I know about, that I have domestic examples of this, and I think that it also applies to Palestine. So in the order of events that happened in Israel and Palestine, Israel elevated tensions in Jerusalem by evicting people. Then they invaded the third holiest site in the Islamic faith, enraging Palestinians in the international Muslim community for correct reasons. And then Hamas reacted by firing missiles. So, in a lot of the way that this has been talked about, I see a lot of energy being expended on making sure that everybody knows that what Hamas did was wrong, which I agree with. Hamas was wrong. They were indiscriminately firing bombs So they were intending to kill civilians. They were not tailoring their assault towards the actual people who were responsible for the, directly responsible for the attack on Al-Aqsa Mosque, nor were they directly tailoring those assaults against the people who were responsible for the evictions of Palestinian citizens of Jerusalem. No thought was given to that, so they were wrong for that.
Yeah.
My point here is that there's a lot of, in this situation and in a lot of situations, there is morality, and then there is human nature. So let's talk about morality really quickly. So what would have been the moral thing to happen in this situation where the Israeli government is essentially engaged in ethnic cleansing of the region and engaged in apartheid and vandalizing one of the most holy sites in your religion? Well, it would be nonviolent demonstration. Just, taking to the streets and doing it nonviolently. Because then everybody looking in immediately can identify who's in the fucking wrong. Because it's the people who escalated the situation. This is something that Martin Luther King, and more broadly, the civil rights movement understood perfectly. It doesn't matter how heinous the oppressor is. If you react in violence to your oppressor, everybody then has an excuse to look at you and say that you're wrong. However, here in reality, if someone punches me in the face, the correct thing would be to walk away, but I'm punching them back. Just so everybody knows. And that's kind of the way that this goes. You attack Palestinian civilians. Hamas attacks Israeli citizens. In terms of actual damage done, not many Israelis died. So what does the Israeli government do? They do hundreds of airstrikes, killing hundreds of Palestinians. They bomb 2 independent international news outlets and a UN school, all citing that Hamas was there but not producing a shred of fucking evidence to that fact. So who's wrong there? Some people would say Hamas shouldn't have shot those rockets. And I agree. They shouldn't have. Because it was very clear from the second that they shot those rockets that Israel was going to rain hellfire on them.
Yeah.
However,
what did they expect?
And the other thing that is important in this analysis is that there is no way on earth that Palestine is capable alone of winning any conflict with Israel. Israel is a nuclear power. They have one of the most effective militaries on the earth. There is no Palestinian army. They have no nuclear weapons. They have less powerful bombs. They have no bomb shelters. They have no Iron Dome. They are outgunned, outclassed in every foreseeable way. So it does not behoove them to start fights with Israel. But this has zero bearing on the morality of the fucking situation. And I feel like people don't fucking understand this. And that's why I'm a little bit angry right now. Because people will look at this event and they'll be like, Hamas shouldn't have done this. Hamas shouldn't have done this. Why were they trying to hit citizens? How were they trying to hit citizens? And I'm like, yes, they shouldn't have tried to hit citizens. And yes, they probably shouldn't have fired the missiles at anything at all. Even if they perfectly targeted them to pinpoint attack the Israeli Defense Force, what were you actually going to do? Not a fucking thing. But that doesn't mean that that's what they were going to do. It's very similar, you see, to when Black Lives Matter protests occasionally, really, really, really occasionally, just so everybody knows, 93% of Black Lives Matter protests last summer were peaceful. But for that 7%, it's important to note that everybody looked at the Black Lives Matter activists and said, oh my God, they're being violent. They're setting Fires? Oh my God, that's wrong. And you want to know a secret? There are a lot of people who will defend the rioting. I don't defend the rioting. It's not right. However, it is human. There's this expectation of oppressed people to constantly be these incredibly disciplined actors, to take everything on the chin and to only express disdain in a way that is palatable and nonviolent and peaceful.
Palatable to the oppressors.
Yeah. Or to onlookers, not even the oppressors, just to onlookers. The thing about the Black Lives Matter protests that really irked me was that at the beginning, when George Floyd was first murdered, Black Lives Matter support was at an all-time high. It's over half the country. Really, really, really high. Once a couple of protests started becoming riots, that number started to edge down because they didn't want to support the reaction to the murder of Black people violently. But the instigating event was violent in and of itself. In this exchange, who had the power to stop the riot and who had the power to stop the fucking killing? It's only the police. It's only the police. The riot was going to happen as soon as you did, the cop made the decision to shoot somebody for no fucking reason or to stand on their goddamn neck for 9 minutes. That's when the choice was made that caused the riot to happen. It wasn't when whatever dumb fuck in the riot themselves decided to get a little bit rowdy. The decision was already set on path, set in stone, far before that happened.
There were many steps that could have been taken to reduce the pressure on like what was going. I mean, really, when we're comparing this to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, you have protests, and then you have the police that have all the power and weaponry and armor, and then someone throws like a rock, and then they pepper the protesters with smoke or with flashbangs or something, and that just gives them the reason to move in and start arresting people, and that pops off everything.
Yeah, and just
that's what happened like a few times in these rare instances of riots. Like there were multiple times in the timeline of these protests where the police could have backed off, and there wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have turned into what it turned into. And this is a parallel to, on a smaller scale, but a parallel to what's going on here.
Yeah,
someone threw a rock.
It's a thought process that permeates every element of the way that that humans behave. I also think about on a playground, we try to teach children, if you're hit, you should come seek help, or if you're hit, you shouldn't hit them back because 2 wrongs don't make a right. But it certainly would make you feel fucking better to punch them, even if you're smaller and you have no chance of winning, or that hellfire is going to rain down on you. I mean, I've been in that situation as a little kid where I get punched or somebody hurts me, and I was a kid, and I'm thinking, like, I got options here. Like, I can sit and I can cry, or I can try and be in charge of my own life, and I can strike back. And the idea that you would blame the child for striking back, the idea that you would blame a protester, the idea that you would blame Palestine for what they do in reaction to somebody doing violence on them with violence. There's only one person who has the decision-making ability to stop the fucking violence. Because if Palestine lays down their arms, Palestinians still die. If Black Lives Matter lays down their arms, they don't have them. But like, let's say, like, if the Black Lives Matter protester doesn't, what's the difference between when the Black Lives Matter protest throws the stone? There's tons of violence, and the cops attack them, and it's really bad, and they shouldn't do that. But if they don't, you also have to understand that there's still going to be violence. The Black people are still going to die. It's 1 minute. It's a snap decision where you have, like, the chance to to make a decision to lessen the bad impact, but we as individual actors aren't always capable of reducing harm when emotions are involved. We are human beings. I feel like you would have to be an automaton to do this perfectly every single time. And it feels like a lot of white liberals and leftists and everybody actually will spend a lot of time castigating the oppressors for acting in violence, even though they didn't make the decision to escalate the conflict. They just made a dumb decision about what to do in response to it. And their dumb response doesn't change their overall reality, to be perfectly honest. And it's
Wait,
very
they're castigating
irritating.
the oppressors or the oppressed?
The oppressed, rather. Sorry.
Okay.
They will, and the worst is when they'll be like, "Yeah, what Israel is doing is wrong, but you shouldn't have shot the missiles." And it's like, Israel has the power not to bomb civilians. They just do.
Mm-hmm.
They have the power to walk their military in there and to arrest people. They have so much power in this situation. And to act like the decision-making process for Israel and their resources, it's not even in the same ballpark as what happens in Palestine. Their decision-making, the power that they have. Israel decides to stop the violence, decides not to do the bombings, decides to accept the ceasefire. The ceasefire happens. Palestine tries to do a ceasefire, Israel rejects it. Only one of them is still trying to perpetuate this violence. That's my point. I don't know, man. It just fucking pisses me off so much.
And I mean, the reason I suggested this topic is, one, because it's very timely, and I think our listeners would want to hear our feelings or our thoughts on the situation. And the other thing is that we need to talk about it. We can't just we as Americans, like, we don't have a lot of power, but the power that we do have is being able to call our representatives and try to impress upon them that it's important to support Palestine. And if enough people do that, then maybe something will change in the American response. It won't.
It's not. It's too late. It's too late to impact. It's too late to impact what's going on right now. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody listening, that we're going to witness incredible suffering while this continues. However, the response to this conflict has been so universally poor by everybody but literally Joe Biden's office that it feels like there's wiggle room yet. But we have to fight for it. We have to fight for a United States and for a government that's not so far up Israel's fucking ass that they can't even tell them not to do a genocide.
Joe Biden's office just released a statement supporting Israel, though.
They've done it over. That's what I was saying.
Oh,
it's just Joe Biden.
Oh, it's just
it's just Joe Biden. It's just the White House. It's just America and conservatives. But by and large, the international community understands that this is awful.
Yeah. So, defund Israel? Is that what we're going with?
Defund Israel. We do not need to send more weaponry to give them more money to enact a fucking genocide.
An apartheid state. As the United Nations has done studies and released statements about that, they are perpetrating apartheid. And
they want to eliminate Palestine. Whether you think that means that they're talking about Palestinian people or the state of Palestine, which has as much as any other state, has a immutable right to fucking exist, based upon every agreement that has been made in that region, and also their historic claim to the land. They want to wipe the result that we're heading towards is the dissolution of Palestine, and that's not acceptable. Just by the by.
Evidence-Based Radio, a weekly science and skepticism show from a feminist and socialist perspective. Every week, we explore the interesting and important stories in science with a focus on the positive. Email questions or requests to evidencebased.radio@gmail.com. You can listen online on your favorite podcatcher or at evidencebasederrata.com. Evidence-Based Radio is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network.
This whole situation is emotionally draining, and it's angering, and it's depressing, and it's really hard to take, and everybody needs to be able to have something that they can turn to relieve that negative pressure. And that is what we're going to talk about now. Nicole, what is making things easier for you in your life right now?
So the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is like the remaster of all of the trilogy, just came out. And I initially thought that I wasn't going to buy it because it's a very silly and stupid game. But I, anyways, so I'm playing Mass Effect, the original game, which is unplayable. I really hate it. But you get some interesting dialogue options that kind of like deepen the lore if you import your data from the first game into the second game. So my plan is to play the trilogy in order and to not 100% the first Mass Effect game, because it really is incredibly ass. Just oh my god, it's fucking ass. Just ass.
It's one of the most
my
popular
fucking
games.
god, it's ass.
It's so popular. Was it just the time that it came out that people were like really in love with it, or
have you ever tried to play Knights of the Old Republic?
God, no.
Okay. What I will say
we were talking about this before. Like, I'm not really into BioWare's style, so
what I'm gonna say is they try to do like action combat, and for the first like few titles that they threw out there in this like sort of style, they really didn't understand what the blend needed to be between like RPG and between shooters. So there are a lot of RPG elements of Mass Effect that kind of take away from its usefulness as a or its efficacy as a shooter, which makes the most of which is this awful mechanic where you are shooting and then you have to pause the game and then you can use a power and then you unpause the game and the power might hit. Maybe. Who knows? I don't. So that's really fucking frustrating. I don't love the combat. You feel really too squishy, although I cracked the code on feeling too squishy. You just use Rex and you put him in front of you.
There you go. Meat shields.
But they figured it out by Mass Effect 2, so I'm really looking forward to playing Mass Effect 2 and being disappointed as I was in 2012 by Mass Effect 3. So that's what's keeping me, I don't want to say sane. It's what's keeping me. What's making you happy this week, Janra?
Sane is not really an adjective that would apply to this whole situation.
Yeah,
to
also
us.
yeah,
To us.
also like
That's what I'm saying.
Mass Effect is an infuriating fucking game. I'm like, I've been playing it for 10 hours and I'm like infuriated. I'm like, why am I
You're
doing
just
this? This is
relaxing by
awful.
getting pissed off at a video game.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm just kind of like, the storyline is okay. I love the crewmates. Oh my god, I have to play the game to talk to the crewmates. Oh god, this is the worst. Why would you make me play the game? Why? Porque? It does not make me sane to play this game. But I am looking forward to Mass Effect 2, which will come in about 30 hours.
Nice. All right, so my thing is, usually, okay. So my thing is, we have 2 cats, in our house, and Stacy, so we have 2 cats in our house, and my wife has one and I have one, basically. We have Punk and we have Poe. Poe is my cat. He is a fraidy cat. He runs anytime you move or breathe. He just runs away. Even if you're petting him or if he's just hanging out by the window, you're like, I'm gonna, there's a creak and boom, he's gone. I usually lock my door when I'm sleeping because the cats will just come in and do whatever. I haven't seen Poe in a while because he keeps running away. But I forgot to close the door this morning, and Poe comes in at I don't know 6 because he's hungry, and Stacy and my wife's door is closed. And so he comes upstairs and he gets in and just starts meowing. But he gets on the bed and he hung out with me for a little bit. It was really awesome.
You used his hunger as an excuse to hang out. That's cute.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. And I was like, he walks up on the bed. He licks my face. And he's like, hey. So I got to pet my cat for a little bit. I have not been able to do that in a couple weeks.
Wow.
So it was incredibly adorable.
That's cute. Your cat's a shithead.
Yeah. I mean, both of them are, honestly. Punk is an asshole to him.
Cat dynamics.
Yeah. Punk is just a friggin' bully. Poe used to be a badass and he cut him a few times. But Punk has asserted his dominance, and Poe just goes away.
Poor Poe. Okay, let's do a hashtag free Poe.
Free Poe.
Free Poe.
Hashtag free Poe. Yeah, when I got him, he was 6.
So he's an old guy.
Yeah, they're both old. We got Punk in 2009, I think.
Boy.
Yeah, they're both getting up there. But yeah, we got Poe when he had been living with a couple families before. He was huge because they kept feeding him people food. By the way, anybody that has cats, do not feed them human food. Just wet food. Dry food is not good for them as well. Just get them the little cans of food and they will be much happier. Do not feed them people food.
Same with
large
dogs.
Chungus cats are unhealthy.
Yeah, also don't feed dogs people food, but you can feed them. You can feed them kibble. If someone's like, you need to feed your dog wet food, tell them to fuck off. It's bad for their teeth.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, he's a good cat. They're both good boys.
Also, my dog's healthier than any dog that I've ever met on white food. Or on wet food, not white food, wet food.
It's just casseroles all over the place.
Oh my god. Yeah, don't give your dog a white diet of green bean casserole and
kale, just tons of kale.
Yeah, kale that you've done nothing. Kale that you've done nothing to. Kale that you've done nothing to.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. I wasn't gonna make these jokes anymore.
I know. I just realized you're trying not to make white people jokes. I just dragged you into it.
I know. Also, I'm making white people jokes, but not ones where the punchline is "fuck white people."
Yeah,
if I'm just making fun of your food for white American food is funny. Sorry,
it's hilarious. It is. Honest, the white American food that isn't stolen from other cultures,
the stuff that's culture, the people are this is culturally white American. That shit's nasty.
Basically culturally American white.
Because some white people can really cook some food, like the Italians.
Oh, God,
Italians, I know it's Italian.
Cook the hell out of A lot of so many cultures can cook the hell out of food.
I salute Italian food. Italian is fucking amazing. So no disrespect to white people as a whole.
Yeah.
Just to the white people in my country. I have an addendum to the episode.
Okay.
Don't be fucking anti-Semitic. Like, we can all not like the Israeli government because they're a because it's far right and an ethno-nationalist government. However, Israel contains a lot of people who have nothing the fuck to do with that.
That's
and
right.
The Jewish faith contains many people who aren't fucking Israeli, frankly.
You know what?
Really don't need to.
Most people in the Jewish faith are not Israeli by a wide margin.
Yeah. So the religious I always say this. The religious conflict here is either secondary or a complete and utter excuse for some shit that would happen either way. Just so everybody fucking knows, don't do it. Doesn't make you look better. Very well.
There you go. All right. So thank you so much for listening to I Shouldn't Have to Say This. We put our episodes out every 2 weeks. So you should subscribe and go to saythiscast.com. You can listen to past episodes all the way back to our first year. We are like a year and a half old right now, which is really cool. Maybe even over. So saythiscast.com, listen to our past episodes, subscribe on all the podcast services. If you want to get in contact with us, in touch with us, there are a few different ways. You can email us, saythiscast@gmail.com. You can go on Twitter @saythiscast, and you can go to our YouTube channel. That is, I Shouldn't Have to Say This. Just search for that on YouTube. There's a bunch of different videos on there. Really, like our classic episodes, our current episodes. They're uploaded every week, so check that out. If you're watching, then please comment and subscribe and hit the bell, or whatever YouTube things that you're supposed to do. If you want to support us, then you can go to ko-fi.com/saythiscast. Send us some cash so we can keep updating our site and keep updating our tech so we can give you the best podcast experience possible. You can go to patreon.com as well, patreon.com/saythiscast. There you're going to find different tiers that you can subscribe to. There's 1, 5, 10, 30 with a lot of different options. The $10 mark gets you extra episodes, early episodes, access to special roles in our Discord, and a bunch of other stuff. So check that out. That's patreon.com/saythiscast. Nicole, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter or my dead Twitch channel at Jack of Three Trades, and it's 3 is in the number.
You can find me at PressStartLock on Twitter, and I am doing a music show once a week on the Bytes and Beats channel. That is BYTESANBEATS. So on Twitch, there is going to be a festival, a Bytes and Beats festival on Juneteenth. So the week of June 18th, there's going to be lots of really awesome hip-hop artists and panels and interviews and things like that. And running up to that every week, I'm playing some of that music and sometimes interviewing some of the artists that are going to be at the Bytes and Beats Festival. So check that out, bytesandbeatsfest.com. All of the music that we play on the show is by Mustin. Go to store.mustenenterprises.com. That's MUSTIN, mustenenterprises.com. And enjoy all of that. He's a great DJ, remixer, and fellow human. I Shouldn't Have to Say This is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more about that, go to planetsidepodcasts.com.
I did purchase it. I'm having a pretty good time. Ow. Fuck.
Oh shit.
It's the CIA.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
They got me. Anyways,
It's the IDF. Oh fuck.
Fuck, they got me. Shit. It's the foreign agents, huh? Anyways.
Psyops everywhere.